I have come here to chew bubblegum and review They Live, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Oh, wait, here's some. Over the years, director John Carpenter has created a number of memorable horror and science fiction films, and many of them rank among my favorite movies. Halloween, Escape from New York, The Fog, Big Trouble in Little China, The Thing, Prince of Darkness. I could go on, but we're here to discuss one particular film that is often overlooked, and that film is They Live. Released in 1988, the movie featured as its main protagonist the late and great Roderick George Toombs. Most people know him by his nickname, Roddy Piper, in reference to his wrestling career. Originally from Canada, Roddy became a professional wrestler during the mid-1980s and participated in the WWF as well as the WCW until the late 1990s. After a chance meeting of John Carpenter and Roddy at WrestleMania 3 in 1987, Carpenter decided he would be the perfect guy to play the troubled drifter John Nada in his upcoming film. Also worth mentioning is Keith David, portraying the character of Frank, who John meets early in the film. It seems Carpenter was impressed with David's earlier performance as Childs in his 1982 film The Thing, and felt he would make an excellent addition to They Live. Although there are a number of other great actors in the movie, these are the two guys we follow through the bulk of the story. Carpenter based his script on another story titled 8 O'Clock in the Morning by writer and cartoonist Ray Nelson. The idea of one man discovering a giant alien conspiracy that he has to expose came from there. In addition, there are some elements of H.P. Lovecraft in the mix, who Carpenter has stated he felt inspired by. The character of Frank's last name is Armitage, which Carpenter took from Henry Armitage, a character in Lovecraft's The Dunwich Horror. The story begins with John wandering around the streets of Los Angeles looking for a job. He doesn't have much luck until he comes across a construction site and manages to get work there. While he's there, he meets Frank, who offers to show him a place to stay in the form of a small camp composed of homeless men and women. After staying at the camp for a while, John notices some unusual activity, starting with weird broadcasts on the camp's only television that feature an older man informing everyone that they're asleep and being tricked by some kind of global conspiracy. The broadcasts also seem to give John and anyone else watching it a headache. The real weirdness starts when John discovers the church that sits across from the camp is actually a front and a gathering place for people attempting to fight this unnamed conspiracy. He also discovers a hidden compartment in the wall containing a stack of boxes. Opening one of the boxes reveals that they're full of sunglasses. Not knowing what they really are, he eventually stashes one of the boxes in an alley, keeping one pair of the glasses for himself. He soon discovers that putting them on reveals a very different world. Everything appears in black and white. Advertising billboards, building signs, magazines, and other forms of media are replaced with simple phrases like obey or stay asleep. Looking at a dollar bill reveals the words, "This is your God." But that's not the worst of it. While looking through the lenses, John discovers certain people aren't people at all, but bug-eyed creatures resembling anything but human beings. After that revelation, John goes a bit nuts. I won't go into much more detail, but let's just say he gets hold of a gun or two and goes on a nice little rampage. Then, after managing to attract the attention of every cop in the Los Angeles area, he decides to make his way back to the construction site and meet back up with Frank. Realizing what John has managed to get himself into, Frank proclaims he wants nothing to do with him and merely tosses him a week's pay and tells him to get lost. However, John will have none of it. He wants Frank to put on the glasses and see for himself what the world really looks like. This sparks what has to be one of the longest fight scenes in film history, as John tries to get Frank to put the damn glasses on. He eventually does, but only after the two of them are completely bloodied and broken. From there, the two men start their mission to wake up the world. They meet with other characters along the way with the same interest, and eventually discover the location of the aliens' base of operations. It's at this point that I shut up and tell you to just see the movie to find out what happens next. This movie really struck a chord with me when I first saw it. It echoes certain ideas that I've always had about government and the media. These ideas mainly consist of how we're manipulated on a daily basis to think a certain way, buy certain things, and go along with what the people in power want us to go along with. Obviously, the film is an exaggerated form of the idea, but at its core there is a message of truth that is both frightening and entertaining at the same time. I'd encourage anyone interested in pulling back the curtain of reality to check out this movie. However, even if you have no interest in that, it's just good science fiction and worth watching at least once. So I guess that's it. As usual, if you enjoyed this review, don't hesitate to hit the like button or subscribe to the channel. You can also feel good about leaving a comment below and telling me what your thoughts are. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm running a bit late. After all, I have a flight to catch. So take care, and most important, have fun.